Well, good Sunday evening, South Carolina weather watchers. I'm your meteorologist, Tristan Peterson, and we have a lot of weather to talk about as we go over into this Sunday evening, moving into the week. It is the official week forecast. Yes, the official week forecast. So we will be talking about that. And then also, there are a couple of other things like how the week will showcase less heat, less oppressive heat, but more hazards are here. And we're going to talk about that all tonight. Isolated showers and storms still possible though this evening. The marginal risk of severe weather and excessive rainfall in place for tomorrow, Tuesday. Moisture returns Wednesday onward with scattered to numerous afternoon and evening thunderstorms. So back to that summer pattern, and heat is less oppressive than recent weeks. So it's not going to be as hot as we go into this week here. If you have not hit the like button yet or the subscribe button yet, please go in and do so. Also, hit the share button, share with all your friends, your family members, your acquaintances, and people that you don't talk to regularly because it's free and it always will be. We're going to start off here with what's currently going on throughout the entire U.S. here as of 8:03 p.m. Shower activity, storm activity. That's the main kind of aspect that we're looking at, especially over here in the western CSRA areas, just to the east of Aiken. Look over here near Denmark, Bamberg, showers and storms ongoing right now. And honestly, it looks like that there could even be a little shower that's transitioning down I-26 down to the south of Columbia near St. Matthews. But everybody else, nice and dry. We're not looking for any sort of rainfall activity statewide. But what about for the entire U.S.? We do have some rainfall activity in Ohio, some rainfall in Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and then even inside of Ohio, Missouri, all receiving rainfall activity, storm activity inside of Louisiana, Alabama receiving some rainfall activity, Florida receiving some storm activity. And then if you look over here towards the west, they're receiving a bunch of severe thunderstorm watches, bunch of severe thunderstorm warnings. You're seeing a bunch in terms of flooding as well. The west is really looking active right now. But what about as we go in and move into our cloud cover? Well, cloud cover is not really looking a whole lot right now. May see some cloud cover where those showers and storms kind of are right now. But other than that, nice and clear for the majority of us, or at least trying to be clear for the majority of us right now. And if we look at that cloud curve for the future, go on and push this forward. This is 8 o'clock in the morning, and we're going to move back to the 18Z real quick. But just as we go on and push this forward later on into tonight, we could see some more cloud cover activity start to pop up in areas of the upstate, the Midlands, the Low Country, even the Grand Strand areas. And then as we go all the way to around 4 a.m., 5 a.m. or so, and just onward to around 8 and 9 in the morning on Monday morning, things still seem to try to continue on into being more, kind of just more not so active as we move later on into the morning tomorrow. We move even further into the future past that 9 a.m. time frame on Monday into Monday afternoon, Monday evening, and look at all this cloud cover we get Monday evening going all the way into Tuesday morning. This is Tuesday morning at around 6 a.m. going all the way to 10 a.m. here. And cloud cover does seem to die down. So during the daytime on Monday, things really try to get cloud cover really tries to get active, but then as we move into the nighttime hours, it tries to calm down and go away. Now, in terms of current temperatures right now, we're talking about 86 in Columbia, 86 Sumter, and 87 in Orangeburg, 84 Somerville, and 83 in Charleston, 85 Beaufort, and 84 in Hilton Head Island, 80 Georgetown and Myrtle Beach, as well as Conway, 85 Florence, and 83 in Hartsville, 82 inside of Lancaster, as well as 81 Spartanburg, 82 in Greenville. Air quality as we move over into tonight, it does look like that the majority of us are inside of that moderate category, but if you're not in the yellow, no risk of any bad air quality. You are in the good category. That's areas like the Low Country, the Grand Strand, the upstate areas, even in the Piedmont areas. We're looking at a good air quality index right now for those areas. But again, if you're in the yellow, moderate. Now, in terms of high temperatures for tomorrow, 89 in Greenville, as well as Spartanburg, 90 Newberry, as well as 93 in Columbia, 94 Orangeburg, and 91 in Charleston, 90 Georgetown, and 88 in Myrtle Beach, 90 also inside of Dillon, and 92 in Hilton Head Island. Low temperatures for tonight, we're talking about 65 in Greenville, 65 Spartanburg, as well as 72 in Columbia, 72 in Orangeburg, and 73 in Moncks Corner, 77 in Charleston, 73 Georgetown, and 74 in Myrtle Beach. Heat index temperatures for tomorrow not going to be that high, maybe around 105 at most. A little bit of air, some areas maybe a little bit more than that, but 105 is probably going to be our most for widespread areas tomorrow. And then as we go over into our rainfall for the next 24 hours, again, you're not seeing too much here either. 100th of an inch to a 10th of an inch in areas like Florence, Kingstree, Walterboro. 10th of an inch to a quarter of an inch in areas like Moncks Corner, Charleston, Georgetown, Myrtle Beach. Quarter of an inch to half an inch in areas like Hilton Head Island. So we are definitely seeing a lot here in terms of rainfall activity for the next 24 hours potentially, especially in areas of the low country areas near those coastal areas like Charleston, in Charleston County around even near Hilton Head Island. You could see maybe even a half an inch to an inch of rainfall. So without even thunderstorm activity present, you could be seeing this amount of rainfall going in. Now, in terms of the crazy score, right now we're at a 7. We were a bit higher early because those showers and storms that we were looking at a bit ago were special weather statements, so they were producing some wind gusts of up to what seems to be around 50 miles per hour. That expired around 23 minutes ago, though. It expired around 23 minutes ago. So 50 mile per hour wind gust was ongoing with that storm, but again, it has since calmed down and no longer causing any major threat to South Carolina right now. But we're at a 7 and no significant weather threats right now. SPC outlook for tonight, still have the risk for isolated severe weather in areas like the Low Country, the Grand Strand, the PD areas of the Southern Midlands as well. And honestly, I think that threat is now over. I don't really see the threat of any more isolated severe storms going on. Could thunderstorms still happen? Absolutely. Thunderstorms can definitely still be happening right now. But I don't really think that there is any sort of severe weather or even strong weather kind of going on right now with those storms. Tomorrow, we start over again. Low Country, Grand Strand, parts of the Eastern PD. Marginal risk of severe weather. What's the hazard, you may ask? Well, damaging wind gusts of up to 60 miles per hour. That is the main hazard as we move over into tomorrow. And then as we go over into Tuesday, August the 25th, another risk of severe weather, but it's kind of like down there in like the lower Low Country, Colleton County, down over into the South Carolina, Georgia border. So that's for Tuesday. We don't know what the exact hazards are for that day yet. We'll know tomorrow. Excessive rainfall wise, nothing for tonight, but tomorrow, isolated flash flooding is possible from areas of North Myrtle Beach through Conway, Myrtle Beach, all the way down to the Low Country through Beaufort and Charleston as well. Tuesday comes in, same thing. From Myrtle Beach down through Georgetown, down through the Tri-County area, down through Walterboro, Ridgeland, Beaufort, Hilton Head Island, Hampton. All of these areas have a risk of isolated flash flooding going into Tuesday. Wednesday comes in and the threat shifts to the upstate. Now we're looking at Anderson, Walhalla, Pickens, Easley, Clemson. These areas have a 5% risk of flash flooding on Wednesday. And then look at Thursday. The entire state almost has a risk of isolated flash flooding on Thursday. So the pattern that we're kind of seeing here is that as we move later on throughout the week, seems like rainfall is going to try to get a little bit more expansive and just a little bit more on the heavier side compared to what we're seeing here at the beginning of the week. And you may be asking, well, why is that? Well, the cold front that we just received that's making our temperatures a bit lower than what they were, that's kind of causing us to see some drier air right now. And so because of that, we haven't been seeing, as much shower, as much storm activity as we usually would. And so for a lot of people, me included, it was the first dry day in a couple of days. Now we're kind of looking at it from a as we move later on throughout the week, what could we potentially see here as we move into Thursday and Friday? And I think that really, honestly, we can start asking those questions on Wednesday, because Wednesday, I think that's when things are going to start getting back to normal, back to that regular shower and storm summertime activity that we've been, used to for the past couple of weeks. But that's pretty much all for the excessive rainfall outlooks and the SPC outlooks, the temperatures and all that stuff. So let's go on now and take a look at the models. The models probably one of the more important parts because we have a lot to kind of go over here. And so again, we're going to start off with just talking about this week because it is Sunday. And on Sunday evenings, we talk about the week. This is the week forecast for August the 23rd going into August the 29th. The last full week of August is here. And just as we push this forward, we go to 9 p.m., 10 p.m. According to the HRRR, it still wants moisture in areas of like the Low Country, still wants moisture in areas like the PD, the Grand Strand areas, and doesn't really go away. I mean, even by 12 o'clock in the morning, you're still seeing some shower activity in areas of the Midlands and in areas of the southern upstate. So could this happen? Only time will tell. But for right now, the HRRR is saying, okay, there, definitely is that possibility that we could see some shower and some maybe storm activity, question mark, kind of going on at 12 a.m. tonight. So in like a couple of hours. And as we push this into around 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5, all the way to 6 o'clock in the morning, you're still seeing moisture going on from areas of the upstate to the PD areas. Now, as you go all the way to around 9 a.m. to around 11 a.m. and even 12 o'clock p.m., shower and storm activity over there in the PD areas, over inside of the Grand Strand areas as well. You're seeing some more shower activity, more thunderstorm activity over there in the eastern parts, but not too much in the western parts. You're not really seeing that. So we'll see how that develops tomorrow morning as we go over the morning models. And then as we go in and push like even further than that into like the 18Z here, for example, here's 10 a.m. You push this forward all the way to 2 p.m. And now we're starting to see showers and storms start to form again near the coastal areas, but that's kind of what we were expecting. Remember, if you take a look at tomorrow's SPC outlook, where do most of those storms, those severe storms, want to try and form? That is over there in the low country, the Grand Strand areas. And so, even if you want to take a look at excessive rainfall, again, for tomorrow, where is that risk at? The coastal areas. And so, that should give you a hint and kind of say, seems like most of that shower and storm activity is going to be near the coastal areas. And this is kind of what we're looking at here as we move into 4 p.m. You go all the way to 6 o'clock p.m., all the way to 9 o'clock p.m., and you're not seeing really anything too widespread, which makes sense because the risk of severe storms, the risk of flash flooding is on an isolated scale. It's not expected to be scattered, not expected to be numerous, not expected to be widespread. It's expected to be on an isolated kind of wave here as we move over into tomorrow. And then as we go over into 2 a.m. here on Tuesday, it looks like Monday night going into Tuesday morning will be a bit drier compared to tonight going into tomorrow morning, according to the HRRR. And then as we go all the way to 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. on Tuesday, we are still seeing rainfall activity starting to form near those coastal areas, which would make sense again because look at Tuesday's risk of severe weather, marginal risk over there inside of that lower low country area. So this is kind of just the main stuff that we're kind of paying attention here to. Now, in terms of what could potentially happen in terms of rainfall for, I'd say, the next like 48 hours or so. Let me go back real quick and move over into the total QPF. This does include areas back to around 3 p.m. So a couple of this, could be a bit backlogged from earlier. But for right now, you see some areas isolated close to an inch. You see areas in Charleston County was this up to 2 inches. Southern Colleton County close to 2 inches. You even see some areas obviously in the Midlands and in the PD areas that get up to around maybe 2/10 of an inch. Areas near Columbia at around a quarter of an inch or so. But a lot of that rainfall activity, a lot of that heavier and more rain kind of falls down towards that coastal area, kind of what we were looking at. Now, what about for the long-term future? We're going to start off here at 2 o'clock p.m. here on Tuesday. We push this forward even more. And again, we see shower activity. We see storm activity moving into Tuesday. We go over into Wednesday as well, and then even on Thursday. And we see just a bunch of activity going on from areas of the upstate to the low country to the Grand Strand. And this kind of boosts my reasoning and kind of boosts my prediction from earlier to when I said that Wednesday going into Thursday was going to be more active in terms of that daily summertime thunderstorm activity. You move into Friday as well and Saturday, and you're still looking pretty active. Compare that, to example, to tomorrow. Look at tomorrow. This is, 2 p.m. on Monday right here. Compare that to 2 p.m. on Tuesday. Okay, Tuesday's still not that bad either. Compare it to Wednesday at 2 p.m. Still not really the worst, but as you move into that nighttime hours and then move into Thursday at 2 p.m., then you start to see a lot more of that activity start to form. Now, as you go over into Friday and Saturday here, Saturday also can be pretty active as well. So this week overall, if you have something that's planned here at the beginning of the week, I think that you probably have a higher chance of, those outdoor plans not getting interrupted the more earlier in the week that you go. Now, I'm not saying that rainfall won't happen and, plans cannot be ruined, because they absolutely can. I'm saying that you have a lesser chance as we go earlier into the week than later on into the week. Now, as you go over into Saturday, also into Sunday as well, of next week, and things still are looking pretty active regardless. Now, you may look at all this and are like, okay, seems like the more that we get throughout the week, seems like it's going to get more active. So, what does that mean in terms of our actual averages? What is that? Are we going to be more above average in terms of precipitation? Are we going to be more below average in terms of precipitation? Well, according to the CFS here, CFS right now has us in a bit of a middle ground area. So, kind of has us in like a little bit of an above average rainfall state, but a couple of areas, if not most of the remaining area, is kind of just near normal. But a little bit of the low country area and kind of that Charleston County area a little bit is in that below average area in terms of precipitation. So majority in above average, good amount in near normal, but a little bit really just Charleston County inside of that below normal ranking here in terms of precipitation for this week. So not bad. Not bad. I would rather see this than everybody being below average. As we know, we are still inside of a drought right now, and we desperately still need the rainfall. Desperately still need the rainfall, no matter, really where you are, except for maybe if you're in the white areas over there in the west. If you're not, if you're in the yellow, you're in the tan, you're in the orange, the red, the dark red, you need that risk of rainfall. You need that rainfall for your area. And, with the amount of rainfall that I saw for the past couple of days, I think I got around 2 inches, if not probably more than that, 2.5 inches at my house, this weekend, going into, kind of like later portions of last week. So that's a good amount there. I definitely, do intend to see what this map looks like on Thursday. Remember, the drought monitor predictions will be on Thursday, so you can tune into that if you want to. And then if we look at the official forecast from the Weather Prediction Center to see what they are saying for the next 7 days for precipitation, believe it or not, even though technically, the Charleston areas, for example, we know was technically in a below average state, they actually may receive the more or the majority of the rainfall. 1.1 inches in Charleston, 1.2 inside of Myrtle Beach. You see 0.2 in Greenville, 0.2 in areas of Anderson. And so that kind of tells you about rainfall, kind of just as we move over into this week here, that just historically this week, usually the low country would see, or at least down there in Charleston County, would see more rainfall than maybe an inch or so for this week. But up there inside of the upstate, for example, where they're near normal, this is the normal amount of rainfall that they may see for the week. And then same thing over here in the Midland areas as well. 0.6 inches of rainfall, that may be above average for them. And same thing with some of these other southern Midland areas, Petey areas as well. And so this is the precipitation totals again for the next 7 days, not including flash flooding, because remember, flash flooding can happen at any time for any location. That would be extremely hard to try and predict. The HRRR does it, either one model run, type models do it, but this is an ensemble, this is a forecast, so this is not going to be including flash flooding really as much. And then if we go in and take a look real quick and take a look at our temperatures here for this week, we're going to start off here going into Monday or so. Monday, we know what Monday is going to kind of look like, up into the mid-90s or so. Tuesday comes in, we're also going to be mid to upper 90s, maybe Wednesday as well, mid-upper 90s. Thursday, still, mid 90s or so. So it's not going to be as hot as we have been seeing it. It's still going to be hot regardless. It's still going to be hot, but it's not going to be as hot as we have been seeing it for the past couple of weeks here. Now, even as you go into Friday, lower 90s, high 80s, pretty good. Saturday of next weekend comes in, getting back up into the mid upper 90s maybe, and then Sunday, same thing. And then if we go and just take a look at wind chill and heat index values, which is a combined thing, really just heat index values. Tuesday comes in and brings us some 90s. Wednesday comes in, get us close to 100. Thursday, maybe not. And you don't really see too much in terms of those heat index values trying to get up to like 105, 110 or so. So maybe just 100, 101, 102, 103 at the max for this week, according to the GFS. So not as hot. Again, definitely not as hot. So what does that mean for the week in terms of temperatures as well? Temperature-wise, it looks like that we're also going to be above average in terms of temperatures. Makes sense. I mean, really does make sense. We're going to be looking at pretty much above average temperatures for the majority of the week, at least for this time of year. But you may not, I mean, it may not really seem like it, especially since we've been a lot hotter. But I mean, technically, this is above average, for this, part of the year here. Usually we would say we would see cooler than this, but just from the past heat that we have been seeing from weeks past, this may seem like a pretty big cool down for us. And then look up there in areas of Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, Kentucky, Indiana, Michigan, Illinois. They're going to be below average for this week for the most part. And then that's pretty much all I have to say there in terms of the averages. Let's go on and just talk about the rest of the models here just past this week. We move forward into, for example, Monday going over into Tuesday of next week. And you don't really look as active, I don't think, but it's still seeming like that summer pattern is still in effect. Friday comes in of next week. And, once we get about that point in time, things get a little bit too wonky and a bit too far out to really kind of take a look at it and actually put out in depth, so we're not really going to talk about that as much. But something is there potentially. Now, how much rainfall could we potentially receive over the next 384 hours according to the GEFS? Well, it seems like the GEFS is still standing 10 toes down, that we are going to be not as active in terms of the upstate compared to the coastal areas. Only 1.8, 1.9, if not some areas 1.5 inches of rainfall over the next 384 hours, not including flash flooding. And so that's just kind of what we're seeing, and this is the pattern that we've been seeing for a good little bit. While the coastal areas get the majority of the rainfall, while the upstate doesn't receive as much. You see areas like Columbia, maybe 2.3, Charleston, maybe 2.5, Myrtle Beach, maybe even 3 inches or so of rainfall as we move over into the next 384 hours, potentially. And then the European is still on the lesser train as well, still showing less, an inch maybe to an inch and a half. In areas of the upstate, you still see close to 3 inches of rainfall in areas like Charleston, 2 to 3 inches of rainfall, probably more close to 3 inches over here near Myrtle Beach as well. And it's still kind of just that huge difference from one side of the state to the other side of the state here. So the GEFS would be the better case scenario in my opinion, just because it shows a lot more rainfall. European model not showing as much. Not showing as much. And you may be asking, well, why is that? Well, let me go on and show you the official pattern breakdown right here. This is from the height, the geopotential height here in the atmosphere. And I'm going to push this over into the left side. And time is at the top right corner of your screen. You push this forward. You see this trough that we have over here inside of the east. This is what's bringing us our cooler than average air in a lot of spots, which is why areas like in Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, this is the reason why they're going to be specifically below average, just because of all of this low pressure in this trough that's here. And then also, that's why we're going to be seeing a good amount of precipitation as well, especially for earlier this weekend here. But as that moves away, high pressure kind of trends down, and we stay a bit drier as we go over the next couple of days, as we know. And then there's some extreme heat going on down there in the west. They're still seeing a good amount of, rainfall activity up there in the northern parts as well. But for right now, high pressure kind of building in. Low pressure comes back and digs back down as we go over into the 26th here, which is, I believe, on Wednesday. Wednesday comes in going into Thursday. Low pressure digs down, and then as we move even into the weekend as well, things look a little bit more active and just a little bit more not so concentrated on that ridge there as we move later on into the 31st. And then as we move into September the 1st, going into September the 2nd and just onward, the pattern just continues to look pretty complicated, and just low pressure system after low pressure system bringing us rain time after time after time again, bringing us multiple rounds of it. And so why does the GFS show that, but then the European really doesn't? Well, the European model still kind of on the same page. I mean, it still shows a good amount more of low pressures trying to build their way through time after time after time again. But if you push this into the actual precipitation itself, you can even see, I mean, if you look down there in South Carolina, you can see, I mean, that there is a lot of, a lot of opportunities and a lot of chances for us to get a good amount of rainfall over the next 360 hours. Good amount of chances for it. And then if you compare that to what the GFS has to say, again, almost around the same amount. It looks like the GFS may have a little bit more of a bias towards more rainfall than the European might, and so that may be the potential issue there that we're looking at. But that's, the whole pattern breakdown that I really wanted to take a look at. If we want to take a look at the heat now, specifically at the anomalies as we move throughout the next 300 plus hours or so, this goes into next week now. We're still going to be a bit above average as we move over into next week, even as we go over into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We will have some opportunities to where we may be a bit cooler than average as we move into Friday of next week. This is Friday, for example, 2 p.m. Some areas around 2 degrees below average, but that's over 300 hours. So we're going to wait a bit on that. But compared, to this week still has a lot of time for it to be above average. But I think as we move towards almost the end parts of the week, we may be seeing a little bit of a cool down here. Maybe seeing a little bit of a cool, another little bit of a cool down as we move later on into the week potentially. And then as we go in and take a look at the actual temperatures themselves, moving on into next week, looks like we're going to continue to try and stay in the lower 90s, high 80s as we move over into next week. So another, good week could potentially be in store for us next week. But if we go on and take a look at the GEFS, this is the ensemble here to kind of show us what the actual temperatures could look like. It looks like our averages, again, kind of, in agreement, saying that we're going to be more in the higher 80s, lower 90s as an average as we move into September. So that was a lot to kind of go in and break down, but the main points is temperatures for this week, still technically above average, but definitely cooler. Next week, still kind of the same, length here in terms of our actual temperatures. And then pattern-wise, there's going to be a bunch of low pressures kind of training in over and over and over again, bringing us huge opportunities for rainfall. And then really going to have to rely for some areas for some heavy rainfall in terms of like torrential downpours with storms, just because a lot of areas may not see a whole lot even as we move 300 hours out into the future. But that's all that I have to say here in terms of the model. So let's go in and take a look at the tropics, because the tropics is here. Tropics is active, and we have two areas now. We're really only watching one, but there are technically two. This is Invest 95 that you see at the top part of the screen. Disturbance 1, Invest 95, has a 50% chance of forming. Yes, a 50% chance of forming. This is what it currently looks like right now as it moves over into the northern, into like the northern Atlantic here. And so far, what it does seem like, in terms of text, it says that showers and thunderstorms are slowly getting better organized in association with the low pressure area centered about 400 miles southeast of Bermuda. Further development of the low is possible, and this system could become a short-lived tropical depression or storm during the next couple of days, while it moves north and northeast, well northeast of Bermuda. So this has no threat to South Carolina, has no threat really to the U.S. at all. Really, all this thing could do is just become a named storm and kind of just move out. May cause something, up into the northern parts like in Canada and stuff like that, maybe, but nothing to the U.S. I'm not really expecting this thing to do too much as it again is expected to move up towards the north. But the one that I am kind of watching for is obviously this one down here, Disturbance 2. A tropical wave is expected to move off the west coast of Africa on Monday, and an area of low pressure could form in association with the wave early this week. Conditions are forecasted to become marginally conducive for development, and a tropical depression could form by the middle to latter portion of the week, while the system moves generally west at 15 to 20 miles per hour. So this has a 0% chance of forming over the next 48 hours, but a 50% chance over the next 7 days. So we're kind of just watching as we move over into the next, honestly, week, maybe a bit more than a week, because I think this thing will take a little bit, take its time, because, I mean, as it says, it may not form until the middle to latter portion of this week here. So, we may have a little bit of a ways to go here before this thing really starts to get going. Now, what do the actual models and the hurricane models say for it? Well, right now, they're kind of still kind of all over the place. I mean, this thing hasn't even formed yet, so there's not really a whole lot to go off on. But compared to, for example, what the Euro AI model is saying first, push this in over here. There was not an earthquake today. Push this in over here. You see the time kind of at like the top part of the screen. Up here, not this time over here, but this time kind of moving in on the right side. Let me go in and cross this time right here out so nobody confuses it. But as you move this forward over into Tuesday, going over into Wednesday, you see how organized this thing is as we go over into Wednesday, Thursday, and just a whole agreement in terms of low pressure systems trying to move its way west. Could cause some issues in the Caribbean a little bit, but it curves its way up and doesn't really impact us much according to the European AI, and it doesn't really get us strong either. Does not really get us strong. Now, the European was a bit on the stronger end yesterday. Let's see if it's still saying it. Moving to, this is now Saturday going into Sunday of this weekend, Monday and Tuesday of next week. So, I mean, we could be dealing with this thing for a long time. A couple of these storms do become a hurricane, though. A couple of these runs do. So, but still, no impact to South Carolina. Still, no direct impact to South Carolina, according to the European. And then the GEFS, this one is also kind of, as we get into Saturday, getting into Sunday, just continuing to curve its way up. But one thing that you do notice is that the European and the GFS, even though they are the higher end and the more stronger scenario models, the Euro AI may seem to try and get a little bit closer and a little bit less organized in terms of their exact track. That's because the European and the GFS get stronger. They're going to get up north quicker. The Euro AI, not going to get as strong and may have its chances to go in and move to the west a little bit, quicker before it has to try and shoot its way up towards the north. Because it seems like an agreement right now, this thing will shoot up towards the north. So, still a lot to go on and try and figure out. Will this even survive the wind shear that's out there? Well, most models are saying that it will right now. But we'll break this down more as we get more information and we'll go over it once we get there. So that is something to watch for here in terms of the tropics. So make sure you have all your hurricane plans in place. Make sure that you know what to do just in case if worse does come to worse and this thing does head straight for South Carolina. You want to know what you want. You want to know what you are going to have to do. And that's all they have to say here in terms of the tropics. There's no earthquakes today. No earthquakes today in the state. So we are good there. And so let's go on now and talk with the audience. If you want to be a part of the audience, you can by joining us here at 8 o'clock. Every time I say 9 o'clock, just know I mean 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. And the reason why we go on and talk with the audience is just to see what they have to say. Any questions, any sort of weather updates, all that type of stuff is put inside of the chat. Again, hopefully we keep it weather related. But we're going to start off with my Ula first. You have to be a subscriber if you want to try and type. She says, good evening, everyone. Good evening to you. Today's high in Georgetown was 89 degrees, currently 81. Today was not too bad at all. Not too hot, just right. I mean, that's kind of what the cold front has done for us. You know, not too hot. Not too hot. I picked up my daughter from Myrtle Beach International. It was felt pretty good over there. We did have a hit or miss shower and some thunderstorms also. Did not see any rain at my house today. Great day overall. Well, thank you so much for that weather report for where you are over there in Georgetown. My name says hello, Jay and all. It was nice outside at the moment. And so I see from you. So thank you so much for that weather report for where you are. Charles says, greetings, everyone. Greetings to you. And then Thad says, good evening, Joseph and the 360 Weather family. I trust all is well with everyone. Well, same to you as well. It was another very hot day here in Central Texas. We had a high of 106, and it's still 101 as we speak. I have, for the most part, relaxed my efforts on my grass. The grass is on life support, and I'm just trying to keep it alive until these temperatures break sometime at the end of September or early October. We are in dire need of some rainfall like now. Nonetheless, we are hanging in there. Well, glad that y'all are still hanging in there. Glad that y'all are still hanging in there right now. And I am definitely hoping for some more rainfall for you. But, you know, we kind of take a look at that pattern and just that ridge that's over you, just completely relentless. Just relentless over your area. And we're going to talk about your area in just a moment. But before we do that, last night, while I was live, a storm was moving through while I was live. And I was not able to go in and show this picture. Or was it no, it was a video, excuse me. But yeah, power cut out mid-recording, so I had to end the stream, internet went down, all that kind of stuff happened. But we did have a video, and I decided that I was going to show the video beforehand. This was from my Aunt Lula over there in Georgetown. She says, thunderstorm picture taken at 6:50 p.m. yesterday. This was 6:50 p.m. yesterday. Let me remove that from off the screen. So thank you so much for this video. Again, if you want to be like my Aunt Lula and send me in a photo or video, you can by sending it in to the scweather360.com website. You can go to the submit photos side, or you can go on and send me an email at scweather360@gmail.com. Again, that is scweather360@gmail.com. That's all they have to say here in terms of pictures. I don't see anything else from anybody else. So let's go in and do the top fan question of the night for tonight. You might be asking top fan question. What am I talking about? It's a question to see who was paying attention, and whoever can go on and pay attention, or whoever was paying attention during that moment that I was talking about and get the question correct first will win top fan of the night for tonight. So we're going to go on real quick and see who was paying attention. Who was paying attention for when it came to the heat index values for tomorrow. Tomorrow, I said that there was a specific temperature that most areas would probably max out at. If it was to max out at a specific temperature, it probably would be this temperature. What was the temperature? Again, what was the heat index temperature that I said tomorrow that most people would probably try to max out at for tomorrow? But some could get higher. But I was saying widespread. I think that this area would this temperature would probably be the most kind of like seen temperature, and kind of like what everybody was kind of looking at. So whoever goes on and gets that correct, you will go in and win top fan of the night for tonight. But before we go in and reveal the answers and let them go in and answer it out, let's go in and talk about the 4 areas outside of South Carolina. You might be asking, 4 areas now. I'm talking about San Antonio, Texas, Raleigh, North Carolina, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, as well as Duncan, Oklahoma. The reason why we talk about these 4 areas is because we have people from these areas who tune in almost nightly. And so we're going to start off with San Antonio first. Low temperatures tonight at 78. High temperatures for tomorrow at 102. Low temperatures tomorrow night at 77. No precipitation tonight or tomorrow. And honestly, you're just continuing to stay dry. No rainfall over the next 7 days is expected for you. And you're just going to have to continue to hope for a little isolated shower or storm to get going as we move over the next couple of days. Because remember, it's still summertime, so you still could see a little isolated shower or storm pop up, regardless of if, the ridge is there or not. But you're just, right now, just kind of just sticking it out right now in this hot, oppressive weather. Now, let's see, we have a couple of answers real quick. I'll reveal them after this. For Raleigh, though, you have low temperatures tonight at 65. High temperatures for tomorrow at 89. Low temperatures tomorrow night at 65. No precipitation tonight, tomorrow, Wednesday. But then as you move into Wednesday night onward, things will be active for you. You have a 30% on Wednesday night, 60% on Thursday, and then onward, you're going to kind of just stay in that 30 to 40% range. Now, in terms of severe weather, in terms of excessive rainfall, you have no risk of excessive rainfall until Thursday. Again, no risk of excessive rainfall until Thursday. But then even if you go into your severe weather risk as well, no risk of severe weather for you. And then for your future, it seems like that you are going to continue to try and just stay in the 80s. You may hit 90 on Wednesday or so, but and maybe Thursday and maybe into the weekend because your high is 89 degrees. But regardless of, you could reach 90 pretty much almost every day this week, because honestly, every day this week is your high temperature is like 89 degrees. Like Monday, it's 89. Tuesday, it's 89. Thursday, it's 89. Wednesday, 91. Friday, 89. Saturday, 89. Sunday, 89. So you're like at 89 degrees for your high temperature for most of this week. Before we go on and talk about Philadelphia, I see the correct answer inside the chat: 105, 102, and 103. Now, on the map, it did say 102 and 103. Those were the highest ones that we saw on the map. Hilton Head Island, 102. Charleston, 103. But there were a couple of isolated areas that could have gotten to around 105, maybe 106 or so. And that was the answer. So my Aunt Lula, who said 105, you are correct for tonight. So congratulations to you for winning the top fin of the night for tonight. If you want to be like my Aunt Lula, who won the top fan of the night for tonight, you can by joining us here at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, being a subscriber, and then also being here and being active, because you never know. I could ask a question. I may go on and see who sent me in an email or submitted a photo. You know, I could check all of that. Doesn't matter. Anything is on the table. Continuing on, Philadelphia, low temperatures tonight at 63, high temperatures for tomorrow at 82, low temperatures tomorrow night at 63. Isolated thunderstorms tonight, tomorrow, no precipitation for your severe weather and excessive rainfall risk. No risk of severe weather. And then in terms of excessive rainfall for you, it looks like that you're continuing to stay pretty good, except for on Thursday. Thursday, 5% risk of flash flooding. And then for your future-wise, temperatures are going to continue to stay into the 80s, not going to get into the 90s, and you're going to stay dry until Thursday comes around, and you have a 60% chance of rainfall. Then finally, Duncan, Oklahoma, low temperatures tonight at 79, high temperatures for tomorrow, 112. I guess something was not right here, but 112. That's your high temperature for tomorrow. Just probably the hottest day that you've seen so far, probably this year, is upon you tomorrow. Tonight, no precipitation. That's not supposed to say a slight chance. But then tomorrow, you do have a slight chance of thunderstorms during the day and during the nighttime hours. So it's going to be extremely hot tomorrow. And you have a chance of rainfall. So storms could come in and try and, kind of douse things a little bit, try to calm things down. But for right now, you're kind of just looking like you're going to be hot regardless. Now, also, tomorrow you have a fire weather risk. Now, you have a 20% chance of thunderstorm activity and a risk of fire weather, so that may not be too good. And in fact, even to your west earlier today, they had a dry thunderstorm risk as well earlier. So a dry thunderstorm is pretty much where, a thunderstorm, but without rainfall. And then also it's happening in fire zones. So fire, like low humidity, high winds, that could cause some issues there. And so tomorrow, again, don't burn anything if you don't have to. And that's all that I can see here in terms of the 4 areas here. And so let's go on now and see what's going on throughout the entire U.S. weather news-wise. Well, it seems like heavy rain and gusty winds from Tropical Storm Moki will impact the Big Island into Monday, risking life-threatening flooding and mudslides. I mean, if we just remember, Hurricane Lala was just over there in Hawaii. Now, guess what? Hawaii has another risk of, storm activity. And again, heavy rain, gusty winds. It doesn't look like that it's going to be, the bad hurricane that Lala was, but it's still going to be, bringing in gusty winds, heavy rainfall, life-threatening flooding, mudslides, all of those areas. Severe thunderstorms are also expected across the northern Rockies, the plains, the northern Great Basin. Dangerous heat persists in the southern plains and the lower Mississippi Valley, and it will move into the southwest later on this week. But kind of everything that we've been talking about in terms of the ridge, how it's going to move its way over to the west as we get further along. But that's all I have to say here. Make sure that if you've not hit the like button yet or the subscribe button yet, please go in and do so. We have right now 825 subscribers, 825, trying to get to that main goal of 900. We are trying to get to 900 by the end of September and then get to 1,000 by the end of the year. 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, 175 more people to go. That's it. I mean, it may sound like a lot, but it's really not. There's over 5 million people here in the state. All we need is 175 more people, and we will be there to that main goal of 1,000. So, text everybody you know, call everybody you know, whatever you need to do. Go on and get them to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and share it with the people that they know. Because once you share it, and then once they share it, it's going to get out a lot quicker. So please make sure that you do that. And then I will be back tomorrow morning for your Monday morning forecast update. Also tomorrow evening for your 8 p.m. Eastern Time forecast update tomorrow evening. Make sure that you're there for that. And I believe that that is all. I don't see anything else inside of the chat for me. So I'll be back tomorrow. Hit those two buttons before you leave if you are new.